Привет, друзья! Как дела? Welcome back to Be Fluent in Russian podcast. My name is Fedor. Today, let's talk about our recent visit to Japan. Of course, I'll be speaking Russian as I'm doing so, and it's going to be slow, easy Russian for beginners. But before we get there, let's talk about some vocabulary. And this vocabulary section is brought to you by Be Fluent. Of course, we have a wonderful vocabulary building page or part of our website, and you can check it out with the link in the bio. And if you haven't been a member of Be Fluent yet, you have a 7-day free trial. So you can try it out and see how this vocabulary building part works. And of course, get access to all the courses, all the materials, all the learning materials that we have there. But we have 10 words that describe life and your inner feelings that is not just like a one-to-one translation from English, but needs a bit more explanation. Here we go. First one is тоска. Тоска can either be just boredom, тоска. It can be sadness. So it's boredom and then it's sadness. It's two different emotions, but тоска as a word describes both. So you have to explain a bit more when you are speaking to someone what you mean. And another more, I guess, deeper meaning of тоска is your deeper pain. I guess the pain of your soul, kind of like that. It's when something truly, truly hurts you and you cannot get over that. Тоска, I guess. Sometimes I have this feeling of just the world. It seems like the world is never going to be this perfect place of peace and prosperity. It's always going to be wars, sickness, hunger, things like that. So that kind of fact brings me тоска in the sense of this pain that I cannot get over. There's not going to be a resolution to this, you know? Next, жизнь. Жизнь is, of course, life. Жизнь can mean either your everyday life, you live, your everyday actions, just more of a general life. Also, жизнь can mean experience. Of course, you have lived sometime, so жизнь can mean that experience. But also, жизнь can mean meaning in the sense that you associate something with your life being your meaning of life. For example, моя семья для меня жизнь. My family is life for me. Similar to English, actually. So, жизнь can mean all those three things. Next, мысль. Мысль is a thought, but мысль can be an idea. У меня мысль. I have a thought. I have an idea. Мысль can mean just your overall consciousness. У меня хорошие мысли. I have good thoughts. Positive thoughts. Something that's in your head. And that's pretty much it. Those two meanings of мысль, of a thought. It can be an idea, it can be a feeling. Next word is a great one, доля. Доля is more physical sometimes, which means part. Let's say доля в бизнесе, part of the business. If 5 people start a business, each of them will have 20% of доля. That's their part, доля. Also, доля can mean fate. It can mean fate in two meanings as well, like another fork at the road, right? It can mean fate of your life, what you were destined to do, more of your destiny, and fate of something unfortunate that happens to you that you don't control. So доля can mean all of those 3 things, partially. So yeah, доля. Время. Время, of course, as you know, is time. Время can describe just regular time. Время can talk about tense in the sense of the language tenses. Будущее время – future tense. Настоящее время – present tense. Прошедшее время – past tense. So, those 2 meanings of the word время. Мир. Мир is a great word, and there's been debates. You know, the writing of Tolstoy, War and Peace. Well, in Russian, it's война и мир. And you might say, well, okay, война, which means the war, and peace. So it's 2 opposites. But мир can also mean the world. It can mean the universe. So it can be war and the world, how it affects the world when it's the time of war. So it's, one meaning of mir is peace, when there's no war happening. That's one. Mir can also mean society, the people, the world. Mir. And mir can also mean the planet. So if a person who does biology describes, this is the only species on Earth, we can say, это единственный вид в мире. Okay, so mir can mean all of those things. And also mir can mean truce. When you, let's say, when you were fighting with your friend, and then you come to him and say, mir, truce, so you're back on good terms. Mir. Покой is the next word. Покой. Покой can mean two slightly different things. Покой can mean just quietness. Покой. There's no noise, nothing. It's just quiet. Покой can be your inner state of calmness. That you feel покой. That you don't feel like you've been attacked by the outside world. Inside you feel peaceful. And also покой can mean death. Okay? We have a phrase, отправиться на покой, which means to go to rest, meaning to die, to rest in a different world. Okay? Покой can mean quietness, sense of peace, and death. Next word, путь. Путь can mean like a path on a road. From point A to point B, you take a certain путь. Pуть can also mean your, again, fate, your destiny. Like the cross that you have to carry, right? That's your pуть. Things that you outline for yourself in life, that's your path. Similar to English, I guess, path can be your life path. It can be a path on a road. Also, pуть can mean development, path of development. What's the first step, what's the second step? For example, if we were talking about linguistic terms, your Russian language journey can be путь в русском языке, your development in the Russian language. Next word, душа. Душа means soul. Душа. Now, this has multiple meanings. Of course, first is your inner state, who you are, your soul, who you associate yourself to be. Of course, your body and your soul, right? So it's that inner part of you. That's more obvious. Душа can mean also emotions. It can mean something that you're like a soulmate to somebody. We can say, ты моя душа. You're my soulmate. Okay? And another meaning of душа that I love, and unfortunately there's no translation to English here, but it's something similar to conscience. It's when it's your moral compass. It's knowing good from bad. That's also душа. People sometimes equate your inner conscience to душа, and in some phrases it's used that way too. But I love the word душа because it's kind of mysterious. It's untapped by the society, by the science. We don't know if we have a soul, if we have душа. And a lot of those unexplainable things can be described by душа. And finally, a word, слово. Слово, as you know, is a word. But слово is, of course, not just a word, one individual word in a sentence, but слово can be your speech. You can say, можно сказать слово. Can I say a word? Of course, not one individual word, but a speech. Can I have a speech? Can I make a speech? Слово can also be a promise. Similar to English, I give you my word. Я даю тебе слово. I give you my word. Same thing in Russian. And that's all. 10 words that have multiple meanings that are all figurative. And I think that these are useful because if you just see them in a text, you will see them as one meaning. But you may not know that it has a second meaning too. That's why you have Be Fluent, and this segment is brought to you by Be Fluent. Join us and learn vocabulary in this regard, and this category as well. And now let's move on to the speaking part or listening part. Speaking for me, listening for you. And I'll be talking about visiting Japan and some interesting things. And as you listen, you can go for two things. You can go for understanding, trying to understand what I say. So maybe re-listen to it a few times, go back over it, do it again and again and again. Or a second variation is just simply listen, and whatever you understand, but more so listen for overall speech. How I speak, what I say, how I say it, my tempo, my voice, my pronunciation. There's many things that we can derive from native speech. And like I said, there's two of them that can be understanding and simply nonverbal and overall conversation, getting used to, training your ear to just hear Russian words. So it's completely up to you what you choose. So I guess what I'm trying to say is don't go for two things at the same time. Don't go for understanding and then also trying to train your ear. It's either or. Okay? Let's get into it right now. Мы ездили в Японию. Мы были там 2 недели. Это очень долго. Очень долго. Но мы узнали Японию. Мы узнали, как живут люди. Мы узнали, что они едят. Какая погода в Японии. Какие японцы в обществе. И, конечно, для меня многое все еще загадка. Например, для меня непонятно, как устроено общество в Японии. Мне кажется, что в Японии очень мало эго. Как будто все люди на улице были очень вежливые, и всегда они ставили в приоритет тебя, а не себя, что было для меня очень интересно. В России не так. В России у нас очень большое эго. И я сначала сделаю что-то для себя, а потом для тебя. И это можно видеть в простых вещах. В магазине. Кто мне откроет дверь? Кто мне уступит дорогу? И это было для меня необычно. Также я высокий парень. И в Японии все люди гораздо меньше меня. Гораздо меньше меня. И вся архитектура, например, туалеты в кафе, комнаты, они все рассчитаны на маленьких людей. И иногда мне было неудобно. Мне приходилось часто нагибаться, мне приходилось присаживаться, чтобы пройти в разные места. Но это ничего страшного, это обычное дело, вообще без проблем. Также, что меня удивило, это что, несмотря на то, что мы были в Японии в пик туризма, там почти все было бесплатно. Все парки, все музеи, все, не знаю, дворцы и так далее, все это бесплатно. Ты можешь просто зайти и посмотреть. Это большая-большая редкость. И также, что меня удивило, это то, что в Японии почти не было, я даже не знаю, как сказать это просто, не было развода. Это когда люди, местные жители, пытаются тебе продать что-то простое задорого. То есть взять с тебя как можно больше денег. Этого не было в Японии. Для меня это большая-большая редкость. Потому что почти во всех местах, где много туризма, всегда есть те, кто хочет с тебя взять побольше денег. В Японии этого не было. И это отличное качество общества. Это говорит о том, что в японском обществе есть ценность ответственности, есть ценность совести, есть ценность душе. И это очень важно. Это очень важно. И, конечно, также меня очень удивила тишина, покой на улицах, даже иногда Токио, Киото, разных городов. Было спокойно, было очень тихо. Люди, которые ходили по улицам, разговаривали тихо. Машины были тихие и так далее. Было очень спокойно. И это, конечно, большая-большая редкость в нашем мире. Особенно, если мы помним, что в Японии очень много людей. Это большая-большая редкость. И это меня очень удивило. Я надеюсь, что у меня появится еще возможность приехать в Японию в будущем. Почему нет? Я очень хочу посмотреть на горы Японии. Я очень хочу покататься на сноуборде в Японии также. И надеюсь, что у меня появится такая возможность. На этом все. That is all. Hope you've learned something useful in this podcast and hope you've understood something from this monologue. That is all. See you all over at Be Fluent. We have vocabulary plus other learning tools for you guys to simplify your learning journey. That is all. See you all there. Пока-пока.